received Tyreen and Troy the leeching powers.
Got the power.
Yes.
So Tyreen was technically the 7th siren.
Yes, she was the 7th siren.
Okay.
Troy was technically the 8th. Because, as you know, men aren't normally sirens. Yeah. The only reason it happened is because they were twins, and they were twins that were attached in the womb.
Okay. So it's because they they fucked after opening the vault,
yes.
Not because they fucked the monster.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, now, when this rant first developed many years ago, and you may feel free to pause me at any time if you have a question, because also I've never actually written this down. It's just been stored in my brain like a sleeping virus.
As the best rant should, first of all.
It was originally called In Defense of Handsome Jack, but that was after I had only played Borderlands 2, the pre-sequel, and Tales from the Borderlands. This rant developed after playing the 3rd game and becoming so angry with the writing into, rather than In Defense of Handsome Jack, the full name, and why I could not tell, time to clip the Duch Manifesto, thanks, fella. the full name, which is why I could not tell you the full name before, is, it is... Handsome Jack is a villain, but he is no better or worse than anyone on Pandora. He just has money, and why Lilith should have been the villain of the 3rd game if the writers had any balls whatsoever. So, here's the thing.
First of all, you're wrong, first of all. As horrible as the people on Pandora are, no.
See, you haven't listened to the rant yet, and they're... Sit down! This is rant time! This is rant time! You can bring up your points afterwards. You can bring up your points after... No, I was already talking! You interrupted! We're doing the rant now!
You said I could stop you at any point.
I said you could stop me if you had a question about something. I did not say you could refute the rant before you even listened to it. Anyway.
You gotta hear the
I'm allowed to make my stand whenever I want.
You can make your stand after I make mine. Anyway. So, the first part of this rant is that the thing is obviously everybody knows that Jack, like after playing the 2nd game and then the pre-sequel, Jack has the backstory. Everybody knows that he's an evil asshole, and he's a funny evil asshole, and technically he has a backstory that kind of supports his reason for doing it, but it doesn't excuse the fact that he's an evil asshole. Obviously, he fucking did all that shit to his daughter, and he was trying to like cleanse Pandora of the bandits. There are several bits of this rant that in the first iteration were just like pieces on their own. One of which is that the vast majority of Pandora, I would say 90%, deserves to be cleansed. He should not have been trying to kill the people that didn't deserve to be cleansed. He was blinded in his rage and his desire to be a hero. But the vast majority of Pandora deserves to die. It is just psychos and cannibals and horrific individuals. Yeah. And a lot of those horrific individuals are in the main cast. Case in point, Ellie. You didn't play this quest with us, Gibb, so I don't know if you played it on your own in Borderlands 2. Ellie has a quest that is all about starting a gang war for fun and killing every single person in these gangs for fun. One of these gangs deserved it because they were a gang. It is the gang that she and Moxie and Scooter came from that was like really abusive and incestuous and gross. That gang deserved it. The problem was that the other gang, the Zaffords, the Irish ones, the enemies of the Hodongs, they literally never did anything to the Vault Hunters. And in the first game, we kill one of them for Scooter, I think because he felt like it.
Lucky fucked his mom. That was the...
Lucky fucked Moxie, and so Scooter decided Lucky deserved to die. And so, like, literally part of the quest is shooting up the wake for the second son of this guy that you kill to trigger the gang war. And the entire time, Ellie's like, oh, wow, this is fun. You are killing all of these. And that is just one example. One of the big examples that I have, it actually leads into Borderlands 3, which is
That's
one of...
what she said, Mark.
which caused the feud. Exactly. one of the biggest examples, which also ties into Borderlands 3 stuff and why I think Lilith should have been a villain, is that Lilith, while you're doing the Cult of the Firehawk stuff, she enjoys them immolating each other in her honor. She literally says, as long as they're not harming anyone who doesn't want it, like, it's totally fine. I personally would argue that if someone burned themselves alive because they loved me so ardently, I would still think that was fucking weird and want them to stop. But nope, Lilith was like, oh, this is kind of cool that they like me so much.
Yes, you have brought this up before.
Yes, I have. But that is the support for the point that the vast majority of people on Pandora do suck and kind of deserve to die. Jack is still an evil asshole, but my argument is that most of what he's done is stuff that literally 90% of the people on Pandora would have done had they had the amount of money that Jack has. And that was the original version of the rant. Now, after Borderlands 3 and the pre-sequel...
Please continue on.
You think Ellie would not have done that shit after the gang war?
Just for the record, we do watch Ellie gruesome two people she's holding captive.
For fun.
For fun, just like for fun, for vibes.
No, we literally,
I have a refute, but Dutch told me to wait, so I'm gonna fucking wait.
There's also Nurse Nina in the pre-sequel. Nurse Nina in the pre-sequel sends us with love letters to people and then orders us to shoot them to see if they're strong enough. And we are totally fine with this as the player character. Every single person is fine with horrendous actions so long as it's funny and not somebody else doing it to them. The only, truly innocent people I would say that were in Borderlands were Roland and Tina before she grew up and started bombing more people for fun.
Roland was a Crimson Lance mercenary for a while.
Krieg.
Who?
Krieg has murdered. Krieg was a mercenary before he turned psycho.
Yeah.
He was never like a peaceful guy.
Does that still justify the fact that he was horrifically experimented on?
He was horrifically experimented on, but...
Do you think Ellie would have done horrific experiments on innocent people?
I think Tannis would.
Tannis would have given the time. I think I get the point. What separates him from Jack is really more his capacity for harm rather than his desire for harm.
Exactly. That was the argument just after Borderlands 2.
I just defeated your point because you said that everyone would have done the things Jack would have
I
done.
said the vast majority. You're ignoring the original sentence, which was 90%. And the secondary statement was that the only completely innocent people were Roland and Tina. But that was the argument mostly just with the Borderlands 2 knowledge. Then we get the pre-sequel stuff and the third game stuff, a lot of which is sourced in the lore that we just got, with the warrior being there to prevent people from opening the Pandora vault. I think that aside from some of the natural violent tendencies Jack has as a virtue of being a character that exists in the Borderlands universe, I think personally that the vaults and the energy of the vault and the devices in the vault were designed to manipulate people into opening the ones that could help subdue the destroyer if it seemed like the destroyer would be released. Because here's the thing, in the first game does take place before the pre-sequel. That's why it's called the pre-sequel. And
yes,
in the first game, and also we as established in one of the side quests in the game, it is still fucked up what Jack did to Angel. But before he did not start flooding her with iridium until the prediction vault piece crashed into his face and gave him predictions of the future, which I think is vault manipulation and with him fucking with his head. Before that, he put her in the chair. Yes, still bad, but he did it because he watched her accidentally murder her mother in front of him with powers he saw as her being completely unable to control, and everybody is canonically terrified of sirens. A lot of people
fucking justify his actions, though. What he did is still fucked up.
What he did was still fucked up. I am arguing that he is as evil as a lot of people that we know in the universe, a lot of people we don't know, a lot of people we kill en masse, and a lot of people, after seeing that, would have just straight up killed Angel. We just got a lot of lore that people want sirens dead sometimes for no reason whatsoever. People kill them because they're afraid.
His actions, though.
That's not the point.
That is not the point. That is not the
saying
point.
That like anybody else would have done the same thing in the same context.
And a lot of people would have done a lot worse, and most of these people are on Pandora, the planet that, like, the game's narrative is trying to convince you is worth saving, when 90% of it is not.
Can I stop you for just a moment?
Okay.
Typha de Leon did the same thing with his kids, where he saw their siren powers, and he kept them hidden away. I think the difference, though, is that he kind of used Angel's powers for his own personal gain. Like, he used it even before the vault and before he was pumping her full of Iridium. He literally set her up in the chair to control all the systems and everything like that, and he was using her to gain vault hunters and whatnot, do research and stuff, and like all this other stuff. Like that to me feels like abuse, and the fact that Typhon himself was born and raised on Pandora kind of shows to me that maybe not everyone would do the thing Jack did.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying, is 90% of them would. Not all of them would. Typhon, actually, I would argue that Typhon...
I just feel like I was saying that I think Typhon fell into the 90%.
No, yeah, Typhon, I hadn't even brought up yet, but yes, Typhon, actually, I forgot to revise this portion of the rant. Typhon, I would argue, is in that very small group of actually decent individuals accompanying Roland and Tina before she grew up. Oh shit, I forgot the ad break. I missed it and I couldn't hit snooze. Okay, we gotta give it a second. This is good anyways, because it gives me a second to rest my throat.
Some lemon juice in there.
Alright, I'm apologizing to Volk, because I forgot.
You were focused, it's understandable.
Yeah.
What are you getting a stream engineer? No, just hire a guy to sit in the corner and manage your ads.
Solar mention.
Touch gave me ads. I didn't mean it. Anyways, so that is the primary. But then
we are
moving
8 seconds till the ad break ends.
Oh, we're 8 seconds till the ad break ends. Oh, it said it was over for me. Oh,
now it's over.
Okay, now it's over. Anyways, so
you have to wait. Go ahead.
I believe that the vault, like, because, like, she wasn't in Iridian, the siren that just gave us all this knowledge, and she said a lot of stuff was still mysterious to her about how they did things. And, for instance, the Iridians did create a vault treasure that would allow someone to see the future. I think that aside from, like, the actual science they did, a lot of their inventions were far more mystical in nature, and I do believe, considering what we've seen, that they were fully capable of creating an interlocking, like, almost magical mechanism that would trigger the vaults to try and like manipulate people into opening them should the destroyer be close to being released. And my argument for this is like, it starts with Colonel Zarpedon. Colonel Zarpedon's ship lands in Elpis. I don't remember like what brought it there, but afterwards
they were supervising a mining operation.
Yes, they were supervising the mining operation, but then their crew specifically gets like they start seeing the future of the vault. But here's the thing is they all start seeing the future and the Guardians are helping them, but this is the vault. Jack, in the moment that he had like the vault key in his hands, he was seeing everything, including almost up to the point of his death. It kind of broke in the middle there because Lilith punched it into his face, but
yes.
I believe that in that instance, the vault was already giving them visions and the Guardians were kind of helping them along. I think that was the start of the manipulation because it was trying to trigger an event that would force someone to come to Elpis that would have the motivation and the means to open the warrior to try and prevent people from opening the destroyer's vault. Because if, like, the vault key, like, it knows the future, it kind of would have known that Colonel Zarpedon would fail. It would be a fruitless task, and it would have been more likely that, like, the planet would have never been destroyed. Nobody would have come if it didn't, like, hypnotized off. Jack was searching for vaults, yes, but I personally don't even think he ever would have found it if it not for the coincidence of Colonel Zarpedon trying to prevent him from finding it in the first place by destroying the moon. And the key would have known that because it knows the future. I think it manipulated events just to get Jack down to the planet so it could get that vision in his fucking head to get the warrior. Now, again, Jack was already violent and a little abusive before he got there, but I think the vaults essentially take individuals that it believes will be able to open them and manipulates them into doing it. I think that was involved partially in Jack and Angel manipulating you into opening the vault in the Destroyer's vault in the first game, because remember, it lures people. It's said to lure them somehow to come every 200 years and to open the vault. If everybody who opens it dies, how do people keep knowing about it and coming to open it if not for some mystical fucking manipulation shit?
The Guardians are there is some Guardian fucker, right? Like the Watcher was trying to get Zarp.
Yes, they were being counseled by a Guardian. And also, by the way, I think that's going to, with all the lore that she just dropped about the Guardians and their consciousness, I think that's going to be part of the fourth game, is that the Guardians, now that they've kind of lost their purpose in preventing the Great Vault from being opened, I think they are now trying to find a new purpose, which is, I don't know, crushing humanity, preventing wars, something along those lines.
Kill them all!
Basically. But, so, and... anyways, that then all ties into part of the reason why I hate Lilith. And a lot of the reason I hate Lilith is not necessarily because of Lilith. I hate how the writers and the narrative keep trying to frame her as the one big hero, and then, their own writing kind of annihilating that at every turn. The biggest and most well-known example of this is the fact that, she's called the one who killed Handsome Jack in the third game by Ava. That technically happens if you just sit there and watch Handsome Jack die for 10 minutes until Lilith gets sick of it, but she was the reason that he was able to open the vault in the first place. She fucked up, and he almost used her to destroy Pandora, and then your character's the one that killed the warrior and save her, and then, if not directly kill Handsome Jack canonically, get him to the point where she can use the last of her strength to kill him. The games are constant.
She takes all the credit like Mr. Satan.
Yeah, it is constantly pushing. Oh yeah, Doll's efforts on Pandora did make it a worse place, exactly.
Yes.
But the game is constantly pushing the narrative that she is the one true hero, when a lot of their own writing denies this narrative. Case in point from earlier, the cult shit. She's kind of evil.
I think this is part of the poor narrative, is that they were trying to have her reach a stage of character development where she accepts and becomes the hero that the world or the universe needs her to be, without doing the actual character development shit.
Yeah, I think they did a really fucking bad job. But
they just skipped all the character development and go to the self-sacrificing hero. And it's well, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah, and here's the leading into me being a better writer than all the people who wrote the third game. Here's what they should have done, is they already had stuff for Lilith that was directly mirroring Handsome Jack. They could have made them perfect foils to each other, and they could have had Lilith start to turn into a Handsome Jack-like character. The fact that she kind of liked it when people started immolating themselves for her sake. Handsome Jack would have loved that shit if people loved him so much that they were setting themselves on fire in his name. He would have ate that shit up if people were doing for that. And Lilith kind of liked it. We kill Angel. Lilith is there to help kill Angel. Handsome Jack immediately kills Roland, having people kill each other. The original betrayals, how Lilith was betraying him. I think the best... I think one of the best things they could have done for the third game, with all of the foil stuff between him and Lilith, and how much they fucking hated each other, and how a lot of each of their character moments mirror each other, I think here is what I would have considered the best pathway for a lot of the stuff they wanted to achieve with the characters in Borderlands 3. I think what they should have done is they should have, after Lilith loses her powers to Tyreen, she is this is the first time since she, like, in as long as she can remember, that she is, like, kind of powerless. She's still got her guns, but she doesn't have any of her siren powers, where she uses primarily. She's still the leader of Sanctuary, but she feels like she's not, like, worthy of that anymore. So after this happens, and in combination with all the shit that happens with, that happened with Jack in the second game, and losing people, I think she starts to go a little crazy. I think that she starts to go, like, trigger happy and, like, grasping at all the control that she can to make up for the lack of power and the lack of control that she is now experiencing due to Tyreen stealing her powers. And at first, this just manifests as her really wanting to kill Troy and Tyreen, and this would seem obvious to the player and not like a red flag at first, because, oh, obviously, Troy and Tyreen are crazy, they're annoying, they stole her powers, obviously she hates them and they need to die. But then it starts to extend into things like, oh, her being unusually mistrustful, her showing, like, subtle red flags. And I think this would have shown up perfect, considering they decided in this game to really start hitting, like, on introducing, like, companies and other worlds. I think this should have developed into a very high mistrust of all of the gun corporations, and specifically all of the CEOs at the top. I think she should have been, despite her relationship with Hammerlock, I think she should have been very mistrustworthy of Jacobs, and maybe kind of trying to create a rift there, because she's like, well, he's even though, like, he doesn't like Tyreen, he's still the CEO of one of these gun corporations. We've seen what's happened to them before with all their power. And I think it should be a combination of her mistrust, her fear of betrayal, and her jealousy at the power that they have, while she is still experiencing a lack of power due to Tyreen's thievery of her own. This would, like, start with Jacobs, because that's the first planet where we go to, but it's not too bad, because she recognizes that she can't be that mistrustful. Otherwise, why would Hammerlock be in a relationship with him? Why would they both be trying to help us this much? I think it then should get worse in with Reese. I think a really good scenario would have been if she, like, because Reese, she has no connection to this guy. He just came up out of nowhere. Sure, she knows Vaughn, but, like, they worked with each other at they worked at Hyperion. Like, this is a guy who came up out of nowhere, and suddenly he's the CEO of Atlas Corporation, which she knows from history was one of the pretty bad corporations. And, like, she's just out the wazoo, showing tons of red flags, like, really mistrusting this guy, and eventually, perhaps, maybe at some point, Reese gets on the ship instead of just being a hologram to her the whole time. Maybe at some point, someone who knows Reese, perhaps Vaughn, because they should have been contacting each other the whole game because they know each other, maybe Vaughn accidentally lets slip about the Echo Eye thing, and how for a while Reese had Handsome Jack literally in his brain and in cahoots with him, kind of, and oh look, Lilith's pulling a gun on Reese. It would have been so easy to have such a gradual, slow build of her mistrust and her going crazy, and then put that in line with what they should have done with Troy and Tyreen's relationship. And I'm really mad at how they did this, because the entire time that they wrote these two twins, they were setting up a relationship of Troy feeling inferior to Tyreen for good reason. She's the only reason why he's still alive, and for a while they think she's the only one that can use their siren powers. And we can see in that little echo recorder that I think one of you picked up on Necrodefeo, that at first he, like, didn't want to go to Pandora. He was happy at home. He even wanted to build a ship with his dad. He was kind of cool staying where they were. It was Tyreen that wanted to leave. I think a gradual swapping of their positions and, like, their ideals throughout the game would have made for much better with Troy as the final villain instead, because you see throughout the game he gets a little more antagonistic. You can see, like, for instance, during that, like, war they had between their followers, he was getting, like, genuinely angry, where Tyreen seemed a little more playful. How much worse he got.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, how much worse he got immediately once he finally had power, and then culminating in the boss fight where you're fighting him and he's draining Tyreen. I think they thought that was a good climax to their relationship, but no, the only way that's a good climax to their relationship is if he finally gets pushed over the edge and Tyreen suddenly sees that he's a monster, and one that she created because she was too eager for power herself. Like, oh my god, what the fuck did I do to my brother type of deal, you know? Because he's now...
Instead, she's like, well, sucks that you're dead, but now we can keep doing what we wanted. It's like, I think you missed the point here, man.
Exactly. And I think a wonderful thing would have been if you find out at some point that Tyreen say never actually wanted to open the Great Vault and do all of that shit. They were just using that to get this like family of bandits to replace the family that they thought they missed out on. She never has any intentions of opening the Great Vault. But now that they've gone through all this, Troy decides, no, I like this taste of power. I want to open it for real. And say, like, at this point, maybe, oh my God, Tyreen comes to the Vault Hunters for help. Like, holy shit, hey,
What?
I know...
Oh.
Holy shit, hey, I know we did all this shit, but I never actually meant to open the Great Vault and release the Destroyer and wreak, like, mayhem on the universe. I was just doing it because I like the feeling of, like, having the admiration of all these people. Now Troy actually wants to do it, and I don't know how to handle that because now he has power. Maybe, like, at this point, Lilith, I think Lilith should have been pulling guns on people much more often in this game. I think Lilith maybe pulls a gun on Tyreen, obviously doesn't believe what she's saying, but is talked down by the others like, hey, even if she's lying, we can at least get an in this way because now suddenly they're at the very least not working together. And we can keep an eye on Tyreen and maybe see if we can figure out how to counteract what's been going on. And maybe she gives you your power back, you know? Like, see if we can convince her to do that at some point, because, like, I think a really good bargaining chip for Tyreen as well could have been, hey, you don't know what happens if you kill me and your power's still in me. I say you should, like, not. I say you should keep me around and we'll, like, I'll help you get to Troy and everything will be hunky-dory, because, like, if she lies and says, like, oh, the power will just disappear, like, who's to say it wouldn't? Because, like, the lives of people certainly didn't reappear afterwards. Those people were still dead, and she stole their lives. So that would essentially force Lilith, because in this version of the story, she really, really wants her siren powers back because of all the lack of control. You're getting ahead of me, Volk. You're getting ahead of me, Volk. She decides she has no choice, even though she hates Tyreen, she wants her dead, and she wants to kill her. They start working together to get to Troy. Say Troy, we still get to the point where Troy opens the Great Vault. Somewhere in there we find Typhon. Things are awkward between him and Tyreen after that whole reveal. I don't know. That part was less important to me than the storyline of these characters, so I didn't really think about that far. But
it's just time for Leon.
Yeah, time for Leon. So at this point in time, Troy's opened the vault, but say after Troy opens the vault, that's when we kill him, like, because, like, maybe he already prevented, the same way Tyreen does on Necro DeFeo, maybe he already prevented the machine from not working, Typhon's dead at this point. This is when we kill Troy, and Lilith, immediately upon seeing that Tyreen was lying, and Ava immediately gets Maya's power after Troy dies, shoots Tyreen in the back of the head. Lilith suddenly gets her powers back, and now Lilith is either the final boss of this game or the boss of the next game. If you still want to martyr her, you can maybe make her be the final boss of this game, trying to get her to her senses and, like, having the people she loves, like, try to convince her or whatever, at which point, like, she goes and makes her same sacrifice. But I personally would have really liked it if that was pushed to be the next game. Shoots Tyreen Roland style. Exactly. Oh my God, do you know how good that would have been if that was what happened and everything's fine and everyone's like, oh my God, Troy's defeated, but like Tyreen's sad because that's her brother, but there was no saving at the point. And then suddenly Tyreen gets shot in the back and she falls to the ground the same way that Handsome Jack did with Roland. That would have been cinema.
I think we would have needed to have more bonds with Tyreen and have her be like more.
I assume at this point we've been with her for like a few hours and we've been.
Well, yeah, because like her coming over.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, her coming over to our side would have been after Troy takes Maya's power, after he gets like a little power hungry, gets taste for it and everything. And then, like, but obviously it also happens before the Necro DeFeo stuff. Necro DeFeo is when she and her father, like, because at this point you also have a really big bond with Typhon de Leon. So them being awkward with each other, but then slowly kind of mending their broken relationship a little bit, simultaneously mourning over the fact that they are going to have to kill Troy, his son, her brother. I think that would have worked as really good shorthand. The fact that the player likes Typhon, and at this point you can see that Typhon clearly still loves his daughter, and she still clearly loves him, despite the hurt that's been. That would have been really great shorthand for getting the player to immediately bond with Tyreen a little more, and that would make it hurt all the more when you're like, oh my god, Lilith has finally truly fucking lost it.
Is that it?
Are you okay?
The last thing I need to mention that I forgot to mention somewhere in there, more evidence of Lilith losing her mind and being worried about betrayal and like people shooting in her back, was the whole thing with Athena, where she wanted the people in the pre-sequel slash like Tales from the Borderlands, where she wanted them to kill Athena anyway, even after hearing the entire story and deciding, nope, she worked with Handsome Jack, she deserves to die. Like, that was the further support I had for Lilith should have been slowly evolving into a villain, the likes, like, to mirror Handsome Jack and all of that shit. I just forgot to mention it earlier.
You wanted Two-Face from The Dark Knight, I understand.
Oh my god, my throat is sore. Jesus.
Alright. I still don't understand how this makes Handsome Jack a better character.
Not necessarily a better character. The point of that was my thing with Handsome Jack is that the game is continuously framing him as like, oh my god, he is so awful. He's laughing as he tortures and kills these people, and you're just sitting here like, I, the player, am laughing as I torture and kill people, and also all of my allies are laughing as they torture and kill people. It's the narrative dissonance thing. It's like, Jack is a bad guy, yes, but I think he had a little more reason and to be a bad guy than a lot of our own allies do.
Yeah.
And he also had if he had been a little less crazy and been like, oh, I'm gonna bus all of the mildly okay people off of Pandora on a space shuttle and then bomb the shit out of the planet, that would have been slightly, and you know what, maybe that's what triggers the destroyer, and he ends up like, oh, good intentions, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. The warrior just wrecks shop on all of Pandora, and it ends up just only furthering the destroyer's progression of breaking out of its prison cell. Remember Salvador, who's a genuine psychopath super criminal. Ad shit.
Oh, another ad. Oh, look, I think that I still think that Handsome Jack does more wrongs than even the wrongs that the player characters do, and I understand that's sort of the thing when it comes to war, that we try to not think about, that like, even though we are killing who we call the enemy, regardless of their actions, you know, it's still, we are still killing people, and that is not a good justified thing to do.
Oh yeah, that is
in,
absolutely,
you know, settings
the case.
like this.
That is absolutely, Jack is not justified for. Sorry, Volk, I didn't realize, because also it comes back. The snooze is only for a little bit, and I forgot that it would only be for a little bit. I'm sorry. But that's the thing, is that it's not just like a war, you're killing people, like there's going to be deaths and brutal deaths on both sides. It is specifically every single character in this game is enjoying and laughing at torturing and killing people. It is not just, oh, we're killing them because we have to. It's all of them are doing it because it's fun, and we, the player, are doing it because it's fun and it's funny. But then the game condemns Jack when most of the actions, the only action that we see him take throughout the game that is like, holy shit, absolutely not, is the stuff with Angel. But everyone had already, the game and everyone around you has already condemned him as an irredeemable asshole before that, when he had been doing everything that everybody else was doing, but on a larger scale, and he kind of had a reason for it, even if it was a bad one and a misled one, from him being driven cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs by getting a vault key punched into his face.
I remind you that he still fucking captured his daughter before he even fucking looked in the direction of Pandora.
Again,
I'd say
Typhon Leon did the same thing.
Yes, I mentioned that the Typhon did in fact do the same thing.
Your
I
point
think
about
Jack
him,
absolutely did it worse, because he locked her to a fucking chair, shot lasers at her, and was like, "You're now my personal AI."
your
Whereas
point
Typhon
with
is just like, You can't leave.
Your point with the Typhon de Leon thing, I would argue two things for that. And here's the thing: him using her to get ahead and work, yeah, very much not a thing that Typhon de Leon. Typhon did not use his daughter's siren powers. Absolutely, that is a point in Typhon de Leon's favor. I would argue two things. One of which is that, even though he did end up using it for like getting ahead and like using the AI to like do the stuff at Hyperion, at least it gave her some measure of social interaction, whereas Typhon trapped Troy and Tylene on a planet with no other sentient beings, just Typhon. And I like Typhon. I would kill myself after like 7 days with only him and no one else.
All he can say. That's all the words he knows.
The only words that
I want to rebuttal something that you said. Oh, it allowed her social interaction.
I said some measure.
No, it didn't, because
Some
she
measure.
never revealed herself.
She never revealed
unless
herself.
Jack ordered her to.
Well,
So, like,
would you not consider what we're doing right now social interaction just because we're not next to each other?
I still know who you are. I still am having conversations. She did not do any of that. She did not communicate with anyone else because Jack knew when she did.
I wouldn't say he knew all the time, because otherwise she wouldn't have been able to help us at all immediately after getting back to Sanctuary and her helping us. He didn't hear any of that, or he would have stopped it in its tracks. I don't know if she did it, but I very much believe she did have opportunities to, when he wasn't paying attention, maybe interact or contact people, because if there were no times ever where he wasn't paying attention to her, then that plan would have crashed the second it got off the ground.
But it also doesn't make him better, because under his beliefs, he was monitoring all of her connections and making sure that she wasn't making any. He was unaware of this. This is not a point in his favor, because he was unaware of the fact that she was doing it.
That is an excellent point. My argument is that he is not that he is innocent. My argument is not that everything he did is justified. My argument is that the vast majority of what he did can be attributed in some measure to him being driven cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs by a series of betrayals and then having a future reading device punched into his skull. And also just the natural murderous nature of most people who are born and raised on Pandora, and the anger with the game and the writers of the game for trying to frame him as this horrendous person who is so much worse than everybody else on this planet, when most of what he does is not worse than it is. He
does go out of his way to like assault innocent people and attack and kill innocent people who weren't even trying to put arms against him. I understand that he kills what's her name from the first game, who had like the messed up face. I understand that he does kill her. She was part of a rebellion against Hyperion, so that, kind of justifies his actions of killing her. But it definitely, the way he went about it, definitely felt very sinister.
The way he went about it was sinister.
The target dummy in Borderlands 2 is just like a guy.
Yeah,
it's just
a guy.
I feel.
And I'll circle back to the Ellie point, where the Zaffords were the only thing that wasn't innocent about the Zaffords is really that they called themselves a gang. That's it. We never see them do anything on the level of the Hodunks in any capacity. The only time we see them commit violence is in revenge, but Ellie decides that, you know what, no, I'm gonna start a clan war to kill the Hodunks, she's by using the Zaffords, when we're all sitting here the Vault Hunt, if you wanted the Hodunks dead, all you had to do was send the Vault Hunters to kill the Hodunks. You did not have to create a clan war and kill a bunch of innocent people and laugh as they died.
Handsome Jack also, so going back to Krieg, Handsome Jack also did basically forced the scientists to work on him, but it under threat of murdering her wife. So it's how many more innocent people did Handsome Jack threaten or maybe even kill that we just don't even know about, then the Vault Hunters and characters in the game.
Yes,
You know?
and the majority of
It's
those were
almost-
because he had the money and power to do so. The basis of my argument is that if you gave Ellie the money and the power to do what Handsome Jack did and also punched a vault key into her face, I firmly believe she would have been blowing up entire villages for the hell of it. I think if you gave Lilith all that money and power and punched the vault key into her face, I think she...
Well, I feel like the argument could be made, if you made anyone else into the position of Adolf Hitler, they would be Adolf Hitler. Like,
Well, that's not necessarily true, right? Germany had a lot of Fuhrers before Adolf. Right? I feel as though that might not be an equivalent.
Yes, she'd
Well,
have her
I-
own carnivora. I firmly agree. She would have her own carnivora, Lilith would.
She'd
Because
absolutely have her own carnivore.
That is the
Ugh.
perfect equivalency. Because that is people killing themselves, because they admire. It was a TV show. It wasn't just that they admired Tyrene. It was that they admired pain and terror. It was people fully, with all, knowing and advance notice, being like, oh shit, this is a really rad way to die, and I'm gonna do it because I love this person so much. Lilith absolutely would have had a carnivora.
oh, what's that terror? He's pointing at his belly. Oh, he's hungry, guys. No, that's good. That's good marketing. Actual crime that we killed them. I don't care.
Ellie would be the host. Yes.
I get that.
The point I was trying to make with the Hitler thing is, if you give anyone else the backstory of Hitler, they become Hitler, you know?
Well, that's the other thing is you're saying the full backstory. I am contributing. My contributions to this are just generically money, power, and us. This part of the backstory is important because it is a thing that sees the future getting crammed into your mind by force.
But I still feel like Handsome Jack was doing bad things before he was even getting influenced by
he was, and so was 90% of Pandora.
I know. I'm just saying that I don't know. I think I disagree with you is what I'm saying.
I understand that, but even before Angel stuff, still I think all that stuff with Angel, the worst thing that he's done. No excuse for doing that. You can understand where he's coming from with the, oh my god, if my daughter loses control over power, she's gonna kill fucking everybody. But it doesn't excuse the, using her to get ahead in Hyperion. It doesn't excuse the, in trying to do the warrior, then, starting to pump her full of iridium. That, none of that is excusable. I am saying he is on the level in terms of enjoyment in doing pain and terror and destruction and laughing about all of it as most of the other characters you meet in the game, regardless of whether or not they are allies. And at least he kind of had a motive, which was to kind of save people. It's just he kept saying he was gonna be a hero and save people, and then he just kept killing every people you would presume a hero would save.
And I'm thinking about it. I want to go back to the Ellie thing, because while it does seem very awful that she just destroyed these two groups, there was specific connections to the groups that made her want to do it. I feel like maybe she wouldn't want to destroy randomly and kill indiscriminately like Handsome Jack did.
I don't know. I mean, bandits did kill Handsome Jack's wife, basically. That's not he didn't exactly have no reason.
Yeah.
Well, bandits is a very broad term.
I'm not sure it is. On Pandora, I'm not sure it is.
I think that's.
But also, does the bandits killing your wife justify you killing non-bandits?
That's part of the going crazy thing is he labeled
not everyone
everybody
on
as
Pandora,
a bandit.
Not everyone on Pandora was a bandit, and he destroyed pretty much every city, that didn't pay him to not destroy them,
Yeah.
That's after he goes crazy, though, right?
Well, yeah, because when he gets the power to do it.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. Well, he had the Eye of the Destroyer for a while.
That's
he could
true.
have glassed Pandora. He could have glassed Pandora before the prequel.
Yeah, and he started going crazy and wanting to do that kind of shit before he actually had the power to do so, because it wasn't until the very end of the game when he killed Tacitor and became the CEO.
Yes.
I don't know.
And he didn't even really have money, despite being the CEO, until all the iridium started cropping up on Pandora.
Yeah, a giant spaceship shaped like an H signifies no money.
That it's not his. Like, CEOs are rich, yeah, but like the spaceship isn't his. That belongs to the company.
Yes.
It was. He obviously got paid a salary as CEO, but I'm saying he didn't get like the max amount of wealth and power until all the iridium shit started cropping up. I mean, that's one of the voice lines in the first game, is that he became a trillionaire after like, all the mines started working for him.
I also wanted to mention about the vault key, because like I feel like if it showed him the future, then wouldn't he have known that Angel was going to die?
We see in clips every like piece of the future that he actually visualizes, because it's like the frame of the game where you see his silhouette and then you see all the stuff he's seeing. I think he would have seen everything, but it was kind of showing him stuff not completely. I think it didn't have enough time to give him the full vision of the future before it was broken. I think it gave him the most important bits, which was stuff like actually managing to release the warrior. I don't think it gave him the pieces of like. That's another thing, is I don't think the vault key like would have prioritized showing it stuff that was important to Jack. I think the vault key prioritized showing stuff that was important to keeping the Great Vault closed.
The vault key, if the cutscene in the pre-sequel is all got, he really just learned about the war and basically nothing.
The vault goes. Also, he went crazy once the vault thing was punched in. That and when the eye was destroyed is when he started to call everyone bad. Because that was also the other thing about this pre-sequel, was showing the series of like real betrayals and also imagined betrayals. Because with the first real betrayal, which was the Marif, he started like that's when he started getting really paranoid, and then with each actual betrayal he started conceiving of more imagined betrayals throughout the game, which led into the final moments of that thing, the thing getting smashed into his skull and going fully bananas.
Yes.
I don't know. I still think he's a villain.
Yeah.
I still
I
see
would
him.
argue
I feel like
he's
you're
still a
missing the
villain. I think you're missing the point, which is that I'm not arguing that he's not a villain. I'm arguing that the game tries to frame him as being that much worse than everybody else, when I would say most people in the game are villains. And actually, there are some aspects of Handsome Jack that I would argue are, like, before the going crazy, I would argue there are parts of him that are a little better than a lot of other characters. Like, for instance,
The stuff before he goes crazy is a little better. That's the whole
I
point of
say a
becoming
little better
being
in
the
that-
hero long enough to become the villain.
Before that, he was already, like, he already had Angel in the chair. Again, still bad. But before that, he also was not enjoying killing people like everybody else. That is noticeably absent from his character until, even after all the betrayals, that is absent from his character right up until, like, the thing gets punched into his face. It gets more willing to kill people throughout the game, but he does not enjoy or laugh at killing or torturing people until he fully goes bananas. Like, that is one of the few...
You're wrong. He threatened to kill Tacitor before he got the vault key in the specific way that he threatened to kill Tacitor, and then he goes and does it after he gets the vault key. I feel like, you know...
Skib, I'm gonna be real with you. I told you to
argument
kill your
could
boss
be-
in
the
a
argument
Discord
could be-
chat literally 2 nights ago.
What?
I told you to kill your boss in a Discord chat 2 nights ago. When I was working for my previous corporation, have, like, sometimes had visions of, wow, this person's really fucking annoying. Wouldn't it be cool if I killed them?
No, it wasn't like that, though. It was like, there was like, he's like, I'm gonna do it.
I would say it
There's
is an
nothing stopping
equivalency in a world where everybody is killing everybody around you all the time, and presumably Tacitor also got the position by killing someone. I would say it is more of a logical progression to be like, oh my god, I'm gonna fucking kill this person in a moment of rage, and then after going crazy in this universe, actually killing someone in that same way.
I'm saying, I think that, like, I don't think that was related, just like with the intention and just the way that the line was delivered, it just doesn't seem that way to me.
But also, it was that
Is what
even
I'm
that
saying.
line, it was a moment of anger, and he was like, "I'm really gonna do it." But my argument was not that he never wanted to kill people, because he also killed the Marif like immediately after the guy was gonna shoot him in the back. My argument was not that he didn't want to kill people. My argument was that unlike most of the characters, again, including the Vault Hunters, he never takes he never laughs or finds like humor or entertainment you'd find at a coliseum in killing anybody or torturing anybody. I don't even think, did he torture anybody before Tacitor, or did he
Not
just kill people?
Tacitor. He just killed people.
I don't think so.
Yeah, there were some aspects of his personality I would argue that are more redeemable than some of the, because Jack before that I don't think he would have done the Lilith thing where he took enjoyment in people immolating themselves out of admiration for him. I don't think he would have.
I don't think you can get yourself redeemed for actions that you do in the future based on actions that you did in the past. That doesn't really make any sense to me. It's like saying, a person I'm sorry to bring up Hitler again, but it's like saying oh, Hitler wasn't that bad of a guy in his past before he caused the Holocaust.
Well, yeah, the point isn't that the things he did in the future are good, right?
I think that the things in the future that he did outweigh the things that he did in the past.
Well,
and thus,
we're not really, it's about the relative badness, right? The things he did were bad, but most other people we meet would do things equivalently bad, if not worse, if given the opportunity.
I think the point that they're trying to make is that everyone is Alcor Hitler in this game.
Yes, thank you. You get it. Finally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first thing
it.
the first thing you see Marcus do in the second game is shoot someone in the kneecap because they told him the gun he sold them wasn't working, which was probably true.
Look, I'm not here to justify the actions of every character,
But that's the point I'm making,
think-
is that I don't like that the narrative of the game builds it that Handsome Jack is so much worse than every other character, when every other character has shown that given the motive, means, and opportunity, they would do the shit that he does.
Yes.
The narrative frames him as being, oh my god, he's so much worse than everybody else, when in reality, vast majority of the shit he does, they would also do it. It's just that it's happening to them.
Yes. I get this. I understand you.
I don't think that still makes him any less.
That's not the point.
That's not the point. That's still not the point I'm making.
Oh my god, please stop saying it's still not the point. I get it. I'm sorry. I'm not understanding fully your point. I get it. Please. I get it.
Anyways, Valk, do you have any other
Sorry,
questions?
We've been sitting here for 40 minutes.
Valk, are you still there? Do you have any other questions? You're the only person actively chatting still. I like
I like Borderlands 2, bud.
I'm fine ending the stream on that.